Holidays. Holidays are hard for a lot of people around the world. Maybe you've recently lost a loved one, someone you celebrated the holidays with. Maybe your home and your children have all grown and moved on, started their own lives, and they don't live, close by, so they can't be there for the holidays. Or maybe you're just alone in this world right now, and you don't really have anybody to celebrate the holidays with. The holidays are hard for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Well, we just finished up Halloween here in this area, here in the United States. It had its ups and it had its downs. This was the first real year that my son went and did any real trick-or-treating. And to some homes it was better, and some homes it wasn't. There's a lot of things out there that really scared him. Spooky, skeletons that are, 12 feet tall that he was just, scared by. Some homes had spooky sounds and cauldrons with, bubbling, stuff out of them, dry ice and water. And others, he knocked on the door, along with the other kids that he was with, and the people who answered the door didn't quite get the idea that there are different people in this world who, especially those who are neurodivergent, who may have speech delay issues like my son, who can't say trick or treat to a complete stranger. He just walked up with the other kids and held his little bucket and, assumed that somebody was going to throw a piece of candy into it for him. There were homes like that. And then there were homes that, they were just, and happy to, see another, child, because the holiday was for them, mainly. Maybe they celebrate the holiday, maybe they don't, but they still handed out candy for it. So, like I said, there was ups and downs. But now we move on and we look forward, to the next holiday, which is Thanksgiving. This is going to be a especially challenging time for our son. Now, this could be the same for a lot of people, adults and children. But this is going to be the first holiday in my young son's life that his grandmother won't be here to celebrate the holiday with him. No, don't get me wrong. She has not passed on. She just won't be in town. She's going to help another, elderly, individual while they recover from, from their illness. And she won't be here to actually, help, or to be around. So it's, in his life, she's been there since birth, on. And she's been a huge part of his life. So much so during the school season, Monday through Friday, she comes over every morning. She only lives about mile and a half from us, but she comes over every morning, and helps him, get ready for school, get dressed, and I do the same thing. It's like, we take turns, who's going to fight with him today to put on his sandals or shoes or, because he's a lot of days, he's just like, no school today, no school, and wants to change the month until, on the calendar until he can find a day where there is no school on a Monday. But, and we enjoy our conversations over coffee and, and a couple slices of bacon. But she's always been there. And she won't be here this coming, holiday, at least for Thanksgiving. She'll be here for Christmas, but she won't be here, for Thanksgiving. And yes, that does make the entire holiday, Thanksgiving, preparation for the meal and events for Thanksgiving, falls just on my shoulders. I will have to cook, the food for I think we have confirmed 17 people who will be here for Thanksgiving. I have to do it. So yes, there will be a little bit, less content that I will be releasing, closer to actual Thanksgiving itself. But we're trying to find ways right now to mitigate as much of him missing his grandmother, who has been here, and like I said, his entire life. And this is and so much so, this is the first Thanksgiving that me and my wife, and that all the years we've been together, that she hasn't been there. Even when I was still in the service, she flew with my wife to, celebrate Thanksgiving with me, where I was stationed at. And even when I was working out of state, they came to me for Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is a big holiday, in their family, and it's something that they've always celebrated. But she won't be there this time. So this brought up an even bigger conversation for us. What would the holidays be like if, say, she has passed on? I mean, none of us are getting any younger, and none of us are immortal. And these things do happen. People pass on. It inevitably, we try to live as long as we can, take care of ourselves. But what happens when that day does come? How do we address it? And we've reached out to other parents, of children who are on the spectrum, and they already have a barrier to, communication. And it's hard to understand, a lot of times, and get them to openly, depending upon the age. I mean, you can't really do so much with a younger child, but, if young adults and teenagers who are on the spectrum, to get them to open to be able to communicate with you, how they're actually feeling inside and how they're dealing with the loss of, someone who's been close to them. We've reached out to, a couple of therapists, and former school counselors that we know who dealt directly with children, who are on the spectrum, and looking for any types of, ideas on what we can do to mitigate, again, the ongoing issues we know are going to come up. He's going to be asking for her. He's going to want to see her. Ideas that, that people have, given us so far is a pillow, or, something, stuffed animal with her, her perfume that she wears on it, pictures, FaceTime, using actual digital communication to communicate with them. But again, it keeps on coming back to the same thing. What do we do if she does pass? What happens if I pass or my wife passes? Tragically, sometime between, now and, in his lifetime. How do we deal with that? How do you deal with loss? It, to someone who is, neurotypical, it's hard enough to deal with grief and with loss, especially during the holidays. Now put yourself in a position where you are on, you're neurodivergent, and you're on that, the spectrum, or maybe you have another barrier, another disability or something, and you're unable to communicate just how you feel. What do you do? How do you deal with loss? Or if somebody who has been close to you, maybe you've had a friend who was always there, and the two of you were connected like you were sisters or brothers or whatever, and suddenly maybe it wasn't even sudden, maybe they had to move away for a job, or they relocated because they got married or something else, or school. How did you deal with that loss, temporary or permanent loss? These are things that you have to deal with, and everybody has to deal with in life. But now add in the barrier to expression of your feelings in itself, because you're on a spectrum, or a child might be on a spectrum. It makes it even that much harder than it already is, because regardless of what people think out there, those who are on the spectrum feel every single emotion, as everybody else. We're all humans. We deal with grief. We deal with happiness. We all have to deal with it. We have to find a way. And as parents, we're trying to mitigate as much as the loss, and discomfort that he's clearly going to have. Because even today, when he doesn't see her, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, he wants us to take him over to her house so he can see her, because she's been there since birth. For in his entire life, she has been in his corner his entire life. She has been an advocate, fighting for him his entire life. And now it seems sudden to him, but we've known this is going to be happening this time of the year, and we knew it was going to happen for quite some time, and we've tried to address this in advance, but it's still not quite sinking into him. Of course, he's only 7 years old, but it's something that we have to deal with. It's something that you maybe have had to deal with. If you have an idea or something that you can think of that might help, please comment down below. Even if it doesn't relate to our situation, maybe your comment can be helpful for somebody else who's dealing with permanent loss or a temporary loss of someone who's close to them. But to each and every one of you out there, I just want to say I'm truly sorry again for the lack of content that has been put out on this channel for the last month here. But things have just come up and gotten in the way. But we are making a real conceited effort here throughout the rest of this year and going into 2024 to make sure that we put out more content on this channel, short videos along with long form videos such as this. And then we're going to also mix in a true podcast episodes in 2024 that do not have a visual aspect to them, that are just a podcast. And we will list those as an actual podcast episodes on here on YouTube. So that is coming in 2024. Thank you again for joining me today. And you have a terrific week ahead. God bless.